Hello everybody, I am Logocentric. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about something that has really been bothering me, and there's been a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about it, and so it needs to be cleared up. I've seen a lot of posts in my own personal Facebook feed as well as in the national conversation where people are talking, and this is roughly how it's framed. I'm not going to listen to conspiracy theorists on YouTube, I'm going to listen to PhDs. Now, I don't disagree with the sentiment that we should trust people who are proven professionals in their field when they're talking specifically about their field. However, it's sort of a fallacy to assume that just because a source came from YouTube, therefore it's not credible. So what I mean by this is the argument that I don't want to listen to YouTube videos, I want to listen to PhDs. You could counter with this. What happens when a PhD posts a video on YouTube? Is the information somehow illegitimate just because it was posted from YouTube, even though it was posted from a quote-unquote verified source? Let's think about things like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, BBC. All of these legacy news outlets have their own YouTube channels. The very nature of having a YouTube channel does not make or break the credibility of a source. The information inside of the source is the determining factor of credibility. The second argument I'm hearing a lot is legitimate PhDs don't post their research on YouTube. Honestly, I can't see how a statement like this could be even remotely taken serious if you're someone who watches YouTube very frequently and are very interested in academic studies. There are plenty of YouTube channels hosted by people who have PhDs and have had them for over 20 years and sometimes 40 years, and they're posting their research and the information that they've learned through their research on their YouTube channel. So to insinuate that no legitimate PhD is posting their research on YouTube is simply just either arrogance to think that they're not legitimate unless they believe your particular narrative, or you're ignorant to the fact that you just haven't gone out and looked for the information to see if it's actually there. You just trusted a meme because you saw it on your Facebook feed and you happened to have a knee-jerk reaction that agreed with it. So in one instance, you're saying PhD is the threshold to which we determine credibility, and then when I say PhDs are posting things on YouTube, then you move the goalpost and say, well, legitimate PhDs aren't posting on YouTube. It's define your terms, because you just said a moment ago that legitimacy was determined by PhDs, and then in another moment you're saying that it can't be determined by PhDs because they're not legitimate. Okay, this last point is the one that bothers me the most. What people say is YouTube isn't credible because it doesn't have peer review. What I would like to argue is that's actually the opposite of the truth. When we think of peer review, we think of somebody publishing a paper, and then the experts and PhDs in that community discuss the information inside that paper and offer peer critiques and, constructive criticisms to further push on and refine these ideas. Sounds like a great system, right? That is not at all what peer review is in the academic world. Peer review is not peer review. Peer review is peer injunction. That's a quote from Eric Weinstein from his episode with Brett Weinstein on the Portal podcast. It's basically a way for your peers to prevent people from ever seeing your work. And so real peer review is what happens after the institutionalized version of peer review that people think of. It's when the ideas get out there, they're in the public, and there they can be criticized and potentially dismissed. They are not allowed to be dismissed before they are even shown to the public, because this idea is a sort of infantilizing view of people that we can't give them the ideas because they won't be able to take it, or they need to have us to filter the right ideas, quote unquote, for them. So let's recap the arguments. People say, I only listen to PhDs. What do you say to that? You say, well, PhDs can also post videos on YouTube. And then they'll say, well, no legitimate PhD is posting their research on YouTube. And then you can actually say, yes, they are. If you just go look with your own eyes and go research it for yourself, you can actually find that. And then what do they say? Well, the work that they're putting out there on YouTube isn't peer reviewed. And what you could say is, Yes, it's not peer-reviewed from the perspective of the institution of peer review inside academia, but in my opinion, that doesn't matter, because the real peer review we want is for the information to be put out into the public, and there the community of scientists, PhDs, and experts can sort of debate on the legitimacy of those ideas. But they're not allowed to prevent the public from seeing those ideas, which is institutionalized peer review. I believe we should have a freedom of speech-like frame when dealing with this issue, because we should be able to let academics put forth their ideas and then let other academics criticize it. But we shouldn't have this sort of public filtering where an institution is telling the public what it should see and what it should not see. So I've done a lot of attacking of these arguments, so let's actually steelman the other person's side for a moment to get some clear perspective on maybe what they're actually going for. So the other side is basically saying, listen, there's a lot of misinformation and just inaccurate information on YouTube. So for us to make the broad stroke claim that YouTube is a legitimate source, we would be legitimizing those sites that put out misinformation. Now, I see the point. We definitely don't want to consider people like Alex Jones as credible just because they're on the same site as people who are credible, like Eric Weinstein, Brett Weinstein, Jordan Peterson, and people of the like. However, we should treat the inverse exactly the same. We should not say people like Jordan Peterson, Eric Weinstein, Brett Weinstein are not credible because they happen to post videos on the same platform as someone like Alex Jones, right? If we're going to claim one isn't true, we have to also claim the inverse is not true as well. So to conclude this episode, I want to finish with this. Just because something is on YouTube does not intrinsically make it illegitimate or a legitimate source. It's the quality of the information of the content that determines its legitimacy as a source. And don't act like videos on YouTube can't be peer-reviewed, because they can. If a PhD makes a video citing research and posts that video on YouTube, then a PhD who disagrees with that person can post their video with their arguments. The people, individuals as a whole, can come to their own conclusions as to what they think is the more probable answer, instead of having their ideas filtered to them by some claiming to know what's best for everybody institution. So it's up to you. It's up to you to look at information and to question it, and not to just take information as correct on a heuristic basis. Just because someone has Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or BBC attached to their video or article, that does not make them intrinsically right. Just as if you see a video comes from YouTube, that does not intrinsically make it wrong or a conspiracy theory. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have a differing point of view, I'd love to hear it. So please, let's get a dialogue started in the comments section. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when more content like this is coming out. Thank you again for joining us. I am Logocentric. Thank you for watching.